Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Dykes.
Here.
Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Tanner.
Here.
Squire Westman.
Present.
And Judge Moore.
Present. Everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, hope everybody's doing well today. Looks like we have a full courtroom, so happy to see. I'm going to start off by asking, is there any public comments? Please come to the podium.
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Gester. I live at 518 Logan Street in South Frankfort. And although I'm a board member of the Kentucky Capital Development Corporation, or the KCDC, I'm not here in that capacity. But I do want to tell you about a federal earmark that's being considered there. KCDC has been awarded a $440,000 earmark from Congressman Barr's office to train 25 Franklin County residents in cybersecurity and IT at no cost to them. Similar to a program offered in Frankfort during 2021, the City of Frankfort approached Interact, which is a Louisville-based software and digital workforce development company, to partner with KCDC and develop a 12-week training curriculum to train low-income and minority workers in our county. Interact's training partner, General Assembly, worked with Kentucky State University to design the course. Upon completion, students will receive a training certificate as well as 12 credit hours of college credit, again, at no cost to the students. Program graduates will enter Interact's registered apprenticeship program, which has been approved by the U.S. Department of Labor. Interact will be their employer, while CVS Health will provide on-the-job learning and remote work opportunity for the apprentices in cybersecurity and IT. These are remote jobs. They're full-time jobs, and they're paid. They're a year long. The apprentices will pay $50,000 the first year. Assuming all 25 students pass the course, that's $1.25 million wage impact in Franklin County. Wages that are not here currently. More than $100,000 per month spent in Franklin County on mortgages, rents, utilities, groceries, restaurants, shopping, gas, etc. This is economic development in its purest sense, creating good paying jobs for our residents. And it comes without economic development incentives from Frankfort or Franklin County. So why am I here? Although these funds have been set aside for KCDC, KCDC needs to submit an application to the U.S. Department of Labor by February 28th. The KCDC board needs to review the application documents prepared by the City of Frankfort with Interact and KSU and approve them for submission. We were scheduled to discuss them at the January board meeting, which was canceled. We are trying to schedule a special meeting to discuss the application and decide as a board how to proceed, but it has been difficult. There's a lot to still get done by February 28th, including having the contract signed between the agencies, so it's imperative that this special meeting gets scheduled quickly. My bigger concern is that there's no guarantee that the KCDC board will approve the submission of this application. If you would like to bring this federal money, again, $440,000, to Franklin County to provide training to 25 residents in cybersecurity and IT at no cost to the students and at no cost to the county, I'm asking you to contact the other KCDC board members and ask them to do two things. First, we need a quorum to call a special meeting. That's 4 members. I've been trying to get this set up since January 20th, but several board members are not responding to my inquiry. Second, please ask them to support this application. Because the KCDC website is not current, I'm sharing the email addresses of the current board members with you, and I thank you for your consideration and your time tonight.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate you serving on the KCDC board also.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So KCDC is the receiver of the grant money, correct?
We will be. So there was an interest form that was submitted in April of 2021, and then we have been allocated those funds, but you have to go through a more formal application process, and that's where we are right now.
So who are they going to partner with for the training?
The training, Interact is kind of our point of contact, and they're a firm based out of Louisville, and they're a workforce development firm in cybersecurity and IT and other types of technological programs. Their trainers are a firm called General Assembly. And so General Assembly has worked with KSU to design the course in order to receive credits from KSU.
So will it be taught at State, or where will it be taught?
It's actually entirely remote. So the training is remote as well as the jobs.
Is there applications for these 25 trainees, or are they,
Yes.
how are they chosen?
They will have to apply. And we don't have that application material determined. I'm sure Interact has that already, a formal application, because they've done this many times throughout the country. I know they just got a big award in Chicago. So I believe those materials won't be hard to set.
So Interap will probably be receiving the 400,000, and with the administrative branch being KCDC, and then it'll be 25
KCDC
applicants in the Franklin County community.
Sorry. KCDC is the applicant, and they will receive the funds. They will go to General Assembly for the training. There's also a student stipend. I think it's $125 a week for the 12 weeks while they're in training, because it's full-time training. And then there's a $75,000 amount going to KSU to help for the students to pay for the credits and, I guess, general admission.
So will they have to be a student of Kentucky State?
Yes, they will be
Okay.
enrolled.
Okay.
But I just want to clarify, Interact is actually receiving none of the initial funds, the $440,000. When the students graduate the course, which is pass-fail, Interact is guaranteed to hire them for this year-long paid apprenticeship, and Interact pays for them, pays that salary. And they get paid by CBS, who's actually where the work will be done.
Awesome.
Or
Thank you.
for whom the work will be done, since they'll be working here.
Good. Thank you.
Can I ask one question as well?
Sure.
Thank you for coming. Is there an administrative fee that will be held by any of these organizations? Will KCDC hold an administrative fee? Will Interact hold an administrative fee? No.
So of the $440,000, it goes to training. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact numbers with me. That's the majority of it. It's over $300,000. There will be a stipend given to the students, which is about $37,000. And then
Collectively or each?
Total.
Oh, okay.
And then of the $440,000.
I understand.
And then $75,000 goes to KSU. So in terms of, I don't have budget breakdowns for them. Interact gets none of it. KCDC is not holding on to any of it. And we are doing an in-kind donation, so any of the time spent by KCDC, the City of Frankfurt, advertisement to recruit for the programs will be considered in-kind donations.
Thank you. Just take a breath.
I have one question. What's the pushback for getting a quorum called and voting it up or down?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Go ahead, Squire Whisper.
Kimberly, thank you. Just to clarify, the initial interest statement that was submitted was by KCDC?
It was, and that also received board approval. So I believe, I wasn't on the board at the time this happened. My understanding is that the city wanted to pursue another program with Interact because of the success from the first program. And they felt with the earmark that it would be better to do as a regional program, and so they presented it to KCDC to submit. KCDC board had to approve that submittal as well, so they were on board in April of 2021.
Okay. And the earmark that's been created, is that only for KCDC or the City of Frankfurt? Or
It's KCDC is the only person that can receive it.
Okay, thank you.
Squire Tracy.
Do you all have a February meeting planned or set?
It's February 21st,
Oh,
which is too late.
and your January meeting was canceled?
Canceled. I was told we didn't have a quorum.
And you all can attend your meetings via Zoom and
Yes. So the things that are outstanding, the concern for me in terms of timing is that the memorandum of understanding needs to be signed by both Interact, Kentucky State University, and KCDC. It was drafted by Interact, it's been reviewed by Interact and KSU, but there's concerns with it at KCDC. And so we need to make sure that there's enough time for the other agencies to also review that and to be able to get it submitted. So that's my concern about time.
no, I understand.
Go ahead.
obviously, the ones that's been on here, the last term, as a magistrate, we've been told we have nothing to do with board appointments and so forth. So I guess my question to you would be, can you reach out to
Yes.
those board members?
I'll personally reach out to our board members and talk to them
Okay,
and
thank
request that they have a meeting.
I've also spoken to the city commission last week and requested the same thing of the commissioners. So,
You did say one thing that maybe I misunderstood what you said, but you said, I think you said KCDC had some problems with the contract and the memorandum of agreement
they would like to see some things added.
added. You think that's the reason they won't have a meeting? I don't know what they want added, obviously, I don't know anything about it other than what you said.
We have told the president of KCDC, Terry Bradshaw, that the memo of understanding could be amended or changed as she needed it to be. And so we're waiting for that to happen. And I haven't spoken with other board members about, other than trying to gather, about how they feel about the program, because I'm not supposed to do that. So I don't know what the vote will be. I just do have concerns because I can't get a quorum.
So can I ask one question? You said we have asked the president of the organization. Is the we some of the board members? Is the we some, is it a cohort of board members? I think we're all just trying to understand where
So I'm really thrilled for all the questions because I really want you guys to understand this program and how valuable it could be for the county, specifically those people who can get into it. There was a working group established early. The city is really the driver behind this, and they had a relationship with Interact that developed a relationship with KSU. And so we, as really the city of Frankfurt, Representative Penny Peeler, and I have worked pretty closely to get this document together and present it to the KCDC board.
Thank you.
So the changes you had said were suggested by the president. Who is supposed to make those changes? Interact or?
I believe it should be KCDC's responsibility if they would like to see the changes. It relates to how money is going to be distributed as well as how performance is going to be evaluated.
Right.
And I think those are things that KCDC needs to be comfortable with. And we as a working group had felt that was KCDC's responsibility.
Who's on that working group?
So it started with Judge Wells, Mayor Wilkinson, myself, Penny Peeler from the city. Did I say Mayor Wilkerson? Rich Rosen, who's also a KCDC board member, and myself and Terry. I probably repeated before.
No, that's fine. That's
And
fine.
can you give me the date again? The date that the meeting
It's
has
due
to
to be submitted electronically by February 28th at 11:59 p.m.
Can you ask for an extension? Is there a process for that?
I don't believe so, but I will certainly look into it.
The changes that the president is actually wanting to make, that would be either approved up or down by the board, correct?
Correct.
So is that where you're having the problems? She's wanting to make changes, or the president's wanting to make some changes, and you've got a board that's not wanting to say yay or nay?
We haven't seen the changes.
Oh.
There's not a document yet. And I know that she and Clay Patrick, who's the chairman of the board, have met with Bob Kellerman, our attorney, as I understand it. And I don't know the outcomes of those meetings.
How long have they had this information?
I would say weeks for sure. But Terry Bradshaw, the president, has seen the draft materials throughout the process because she's been part of the group.
Thank you.
So again, I will reach out to our representatives tomorrow and we'll go from there.
So the KCDC website isn't current, so I have the current
Yeah.
list.
The one you just sent around?
Yeah.
Yep, I got it. I
Thank
have a
you.
copy here.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the fire department pinning. Unfortunately, Mr. Wright's family wasn't able to be here, so we're gonna probably push that to the next meeting. I'll go ahead and give my judge's report. Things have been busy, things have been good. We've had two staff meetings, I believe, since the last time we all met. Very positive, staff's coming forward, trying to figure out how we can be more efficient, things like that. We've also had a finance committee, strategic planning committee, I met personally with Walk Bike Frankfurt. They're talking about doing some trails kind of throughout the city, county, connecting things, even a trail all the way down to Castle and Key. So trying to figure some things out there. Mr. Hewitt and I met with the sewer department to kind of talk about current status of sewers in the county and where they are and where aren't they, and how they're being proactive looking at that. Went to some bluegrass ad training. That was really interesting because, they kind of explain all the features, functions that they do and can do for us. So they're going to come in person a little bit later once everything kind of settles down. Andrew Tippett and P&Z got iWorks. iWorks is it's an app, I guess, that we use in planning and zoning in different places as far as to make things more efficient. We use it now currently, but very little of it. So we're looking at how we can better our consumers as far as putting things online. All P&Z forms, payments, things like that, we're looking to take online, kind of bring us up to speed to help expedite things. So that's a huge thing. So we're looking into that right now. I think a lot of you all know we had the State of the Community breakfast that Chamber of Commerce put on. I was part of it and very excited. A lot of movement, excitement. I think the biggest change this year is all the communication between all the school systems and the city and county. And then just today we had a great road committee meeting. We talked about the new road department structure, and I think we're finally, personally, almost to the point that we're ready to go. So they're going to be doing schematic drawings and a tighter budget. So hopefully, about 5 to 6 weeks that they'll be coming back to us, and then we'll meet as a court to kind of look at that, because that's a big thing. So that's just some things that we've been up to. I've been up to. Next is road department update. Is John Mitchell on? Maybe not.
Here, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can't see, but we can hear you.
Yeah, I guess today was probably the most exciting day that we've had in a couple of weeks, but hopefully we won't get anything else. But we knocked it out pretty good this morning, didn't have too many issues. Other than that, I mean, it looks like there may be something sticking out there tonight, but we're gonna watch for that, get rested up and get ready to go for that. We did get some tree work done last week and patched a few potholes, and we'll see what next week brings.
Good deal. John, thank you, and everybody. I know you all went out about 4 a.m., so we appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions for our road superintendent, John Mitchell?
No,
Squire Tracy?
no questions. Just want to thank you for all the tree work that you've done out 127 North.
Good deal, John. Thank you. I appreciate it. Next on the agenda is Mr. Hancock with e-poll book demo.
Guys, I want to thank you for having us here today. I want to commend you on something. With this new court and judge, I want to commend you publicly. Your all's communication has been top-notch. It's been really nice to come in and be able to discuss things in committee and get things going forward before it ever comes about. So I really appreciate the communication that's going on out there right now. We've got several things to go over. Do you want me to do the equipment first, Judge? How do you want
Whatever
to
you
go
want
about
to
that?
do, however you want to do, it's fine with us.
Okay, with me today I have Ross Robertson. Ross Robertson is the election director for Harp InterCivic. Harp is our supplier for all of our election equipment. He's been doing Franklin County, not Harp, or not Ross himself, but Harp has been doing Franklin County election equipment since the beginning of election equipment. We've got a great relationship with them. They're right here in Lexington, Kentucky. We have had issues in elections. I mean, the fact of the matter is everybody has issues if you do enough of it. And what's good about having Harp right there, all of our election issues get taken care of very quickly. Along with Ross, I'm gonna point her out just because she's back in the room and she wants me not to point her out more than anything. But
Stand up, man.
Megan Fryman, our election coordinator, has moved over to the dark side and she's now working for Hart. So she is a She has been a great asset to Franklin County and will be a great asset to Hart. And we're gonna make her present all this equipment and go through it, make sure she's on TV, telling everybody about it. But Ross, why don't you hop up real quick and we'll go equipment by equipment. We'll try to get through this as quick as possible. I want to make sure that you all had the opportunity to see the equipment. For most of you, this has only been in series for one election cycle. What we're going to start with is the actual print on demand, and the brand new e-poll book is sitting right beside it. The e-poll book vendor is actually a No Ink. That is the product that we will be getting reimbursed for the product itself. We will have some carrying costs over the years that come with this for the election service of it, for them downloading all the information that it takes for the e-poll book to work correctly and make sure it's doing what it needs to be doing out in the field. These e-poll books are really revolutionary. As they scan the ID, they're now going to print out a slip of paper. Can you print one out for us?
So this is a demo, so we don't have a driver's license to scan, but you can scan the driver's license just like the old ones. But for this case, I'm gonna look up manually, and I'm just gonna use Ross as a example, because I know he's in here. So once you get your voter pulled up, you'll pick this ID type that they present to you. For this, we're just saying that he's got a Kentucky driver's license, and move forward. You'll verify your information on the front of the screen. If that is all correct, then you'll go to accept. The party will automatically be programmed into the system, but since it's a demo, we just have to choose a party. So the same thing before, we'll have the voter sign the e-poll book. Click done signing, and then your precinct worker will initial off on the information in a signature. Once that's done, you'll get a receipt, and it will have the voter's information as well as their ballot style. They'll present it to the election clerk handling the ballot printing. They can scan it. It's going to pull up that information on that ballot style, and you can just say yes, print. And it might print a minute too.
And the printers go into a sleep mode unless they're constantly being used. Jeff talked to this as well, but once it boots up and out of sleep mode, it takes about 24 seconds, but if you continuously doing this, you're talking about 12 seconds to print a ballot. And this is a true ballot on demand for vote centers. The process and the procedure is to speed up voters getting through, but accurately picking the right ballot style. In the past, everything had to be a manual lookup for a ballot style for a voter. Now it will be pre-printed on there, matching the voter, what ballot style they should receive, and using the handheld scanner, it takes the voter or the poll worker away from making a mistake and issuing an incorrect ballot to the voter.
Can I ask a quick question? So who enters the ballot styles in there?
So
Do you all do that? Does our clerk do that?
So
Just-
this is a combination of things.
Okay.
The clerks are responsible for voter registration information at the state level. We get files from that, and then we map based on our ballot styles for the county that we produce. We know what those are. We can appropriately match those to every voter out in Franklin County. That way they're 100% right. We can present a file back to them for review to make sure, did we miss anything or anything wrong, and then we can go from that process.
Does it have to be certified in any way by our election board here?
Well, our VRS system is always certified. I mean, we have to go back in. But as I told you last time, in part of the mapping for the redistricting, with us all going all electronic, and with us being able to match that directly up to the VRS system, that's going to take any of the irregularities out of it, or it's going to get real close, Sherry. It's not going to take them all out.
My only point in asking these questions was to assure the public that every measure is taken to make sure these are accurate. Just to be very clear about that.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this because of that. This barcode right here takes the choice out of the precinct worker's hands. this ballot code gets scanned by something that doesn't accidentally thumb the wrong one, doesn't accidentally hit the wrong one, doesn't accidentally hit, during primaries, this is as important as it will ever be. Because the question we have to ask, it's a primary election. We have to ask Democrat or Republican. As we're scanning their ID and looking them up, this will take that away. This takes the whole giving or producing the wrong ballot for the voter. If their identification card's correct, this is correct, we always have the right ballot type in their hand. This is a game changer for how we do business in the election field.
And the poll worker has to initial it when they take their ID and
They do.
verify
They
that
have
it's
to
them
verify
and
that it's
that they're
them.
printing that ticket for them.
And then they're printing this ticket, and it's all staying right there. I bought e-poll books or purchased through the purchase agreement through the state, one e-poll book for every printer we have. The reason being is, we've got one person looking them up and one person printing. We're taking all the guesswork out of it.
It doesn't matter if you're in Bald Knob or Schweitzer.
It doesn't matter if you're in
prints out the
Ball Knob,
correct one.
Schweitzer, it doesn't matter if you're at one of the, everything's a voting is a super center at this point.
Right.
You can drive
Every
to
one of
Ball
them.
Knob, you can go to the fire station, we'll print you a ballot. You can live downtown Frankfurt, we'll let you go vote in Ball Knob. We have no problem with that.
Jeff, can I ask about the converse? If the redistricting is going to take care of a lot of the irregularities, ideally, in the community where someone may have moved to a new district and maybe still registered in their old, or their house address was improperly put in the wrong district 20 years ago.
That's more likely the problem, is that it was all put in manually and it's on street tables, and I'm hoping to clean up all those street tables. We clean them up every year. I mean, Megan has probably made 200 adjustments to the street tables
I've seen
throughout the years.
Several, I know. The irregularities, though, with when they naturally arise, that there's going to be one, what is the, as a devil's advocate, what is the procedure to correct ballot?
Once we get the street tables right, they would have to go in front of the Board of Elections. I think what you're asking is, I show up and I'm Scotty Tracy and I moved, but I moved in county. We would go through the same process. We're still gonna verify where you're supposed to be. Then there's a code in there we can go over and bypass it. We can go ahead and enter your information and make sure we're getting it in correctly. Do your voter registration. It'll take place of all of those extra ones at some point. It's not ready yet, but at some point it's gonna take care of your oath of voter. It's gonna take care of your new voter registration card. It's gonna be able to take care of all that and make sure we get the information in there correctly.
I suppose that's what I'm asking. It's two big elections coming up, that hopefully this new system will allow you to pinpoint those final few discrepancies and maybe remove those issues.
Absolutely.
As well as make sure that.
And people,
Have the right ballot.
we don't hold voter responsibility very often anymore, guys. I mean, some of this belongs on the voter.
Sure.
You can't move in September of '21 and expect me, and never change your driver's license or anything, and expect to show up in May of '23, and I'm just gonna know where you're at. So, yeah.
I got two questions. One for you. We don't have an e-polling system at all, period, right now, not at all.
We don't have the contract with the state. We never owned an e-poll book. It was always a very confusing relationship. The state owned the e-poll book, and the relationship was always with the state as the vendor. So the only person that I could never really call on 10X and say, hey, I'm having issues here in Franklin County, because they weren't responsive to me. They were responsive to the state. Now this e-poll book, this vendor is responsive to Franklin County. You own these e-poll books, even though the state paid for them.
Was our grant, everything, the initials, set up, the whole thing is under that grant? Is that
Yes.
correct? I got one question for them. What is the reliability of all three of those working together and never fail?
We've used these for 12 years in other states.
No fail?
No fails.
No fail, out of 12 states?
No. But I'm going to go back to something that was said earlier. You're still going to have one-off issues. When people move, you're not going to ever be 100%. That's just impossible. You're going to have voter registration data out there that's incorrect. It's just, she's been in it, Jeff's been in it. Voter registration is one of the most daunting tasks for a county to get in and keep updated because of thousands and thousands of records. But you're going to have a closer match. Mainly because, and I'm not putting down the other vendor whatsoever, they were a good company. The difference was they did not understand Kentucky and the data. We build the data. We build your all's ballot styles. We know coming out of voter registration how that needs to map for each of your voters. Are there gonna be some one-off issues? Yeah, there are. There's some records out there that are probably incorrect for voters out there that just needs cleaned up. And Jeff and his team will get in there and work on that.
I noticed the newscast before I came in here tonight that over the state is more independent voters than ever before. Is that gonna slow it up any when somebody comes in to vote and can't?
No, we have that, we've been dealing with that for the entire
Yeah, I'm
9
sure you
years.
have.
I mean, we've grown, Franklin County has grown independently by 1,000 voters in 5 years. It's the largest percentage of growth. It's not the largest growth because we've had more Republicans or more Democrats, obviously, but percentage base, it's almost a 33% growth. So we're gonna see more of that. But Franklin County's a fairly well-educated at elections. I mean, we're always leading the state of Kentucky in election turnout. And we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to find the most economical way to make sure everybody gets their opportunity.
I think the hardest thing for people is the paper roster was there before, and you're all familiar with that. People had to thumb through looking for people's names, right? That was the old process. Then they went to a digital poll book, but the poll book never had a printer that actually prints a person's name, address, and information that could be validated off driver's license, whatever. And then to actually take it one more step and have a barcode that can tell this machine, hey, this is the person, this is the ballot style they need, and it will automatically print that ballot to match for that voter. So we just kept adding on to that process to make it, I want to say foolproof, but it's never going to be foolproof. So it's going to be.
It takes a lot of the human error out of it.
Yep.
Guys, we could be here all night talking about election equipment. I want to keep it moving. Judge is eyeballing me going, come on, get through this. This is the scanner. The scanner is the exact same. Every ballot in the state of Kentucky with House Bill 574 has to be a paper printable, scannable ballot. That's going to scan all your ballots that's coming out of your handicap equipment. The handicap equipment is super easy to use. We're going to educate our election workers a little bit stronger on these. We had areas that did a really good job, but this will take down some of the lines, but I will go into that with the purchase of what equipment we're getting here. So if I can continue to go through the equipment if you want to, but I've got quite a robust amount of information still to get through if you want. And Natalie Hackett needs to stand up too. She is the new Megan. And she said that our systems are already all fixed. She's taking care of all Megan's problems. There are no more issues out there.
So these are all, will be paid for with state grant fund through
All of-
HB1?
All of this equipment, and I'm gonna make him leave it up here, all of these for the product
But not the,
will be paid for.
And
the
then,
verified touch writer, the access bundle and all that stuff is not. Is
All
that
of
right?
this is, yes.
The Verity prints,
All of this.
That's what I thought.
and the touch writer, and these scanners.
The
It's two separate bids.
All right, and the print bundle is not, and the auto ballot kits, are they?
That's
No.
this.
That's
That's the new piece that makes this
Okay.
automated.
All right, thanks.
is the PollPad software license, is that annual or is that a one-time?
The license fee, so you're gonna have a fee, annual fee
Annual fee.
for each unit. You're gonna have an annual connectivity fee and a one-time $200 fee for the back-end software.
Okay.
That's on the county. But the actual case, the unit, the printer, everything that you're seeing right here per unit is one fee that's gonna be covered by the grant money.
So there's no maintenance fee?
There
And no
is.
software license?
No, there is.
Okay, I thought, okay.
There is.
Sorry, I just thought I heard.
And that will be covered, I will budget to cover that in
Thank
my
you.
election fees every year.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, Jeff, can you just reiterate the process, the old systems we had that you had an electronic ability to then print and then scan are gone, so that, can you walk through the?
Everything is a paper redundant backup. Paper redundant backup is the only thing, and the final year for this is this year. By 2024, no one in the state of Kentucky will not have a paper redundant backup. All the equipment that you see in front of us today was able to be purchased with grant money back in 2019, 2020.
2 years ago.
Yeah, so it has all been purchased. The extra equipment that we will be asking for later on was will be the first purchase that Franklin County's made in any time that we could ever find for sale. I mean, it's been forever back. So there are no more electronic vote tabulators left in Franklin County.
Any other questions? I personally would like to thank Ross and Megan and Jeff for presenting this. I think it's a lot of good information, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have anything else here?
I've got all kinds of stuff here.
I know.
No.
Yeah, they break down.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead, Ross.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Jeff, do you want to go ahead and just look at your couple other items that you have here?
Absolutely. What do I have?
Item number 3, the quarterly, jump around a little bit, that's since you're already up here. Quarterly report.
My quarterly report is also my final report for the year. It gives you the excess fee base of 811. I don't have that in front of me. I thought it was going to be up and on this floor. 811,235. I will hold back, just like I always have, a 10% retainer. This 10% retainer allows me to pay any bills that come in that were due in the 2022 year. As you know, we're a fee office. I have the same problems that the judge does. Our money ends on December the 31st. Brand new pot of money starts on January the 1st. Therefore, I'll hold back 10% until we get that final audit, and then I'll make a final payment to you all. I think we exceeded by about $300,000 roughly on excess fees.
Yeah, I think we had 514,000 budgeted, I think we'll end up below 800 or so.
Yeah.
So then your next item is the actual, how much you returned back to the court.
Which was I'm gonna give you a 731, I think I've already given it to you.
You did.
$731,000 check.
Yeah, we thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, yeah.
Go ahead.
May I say something to
Sebastian?
the court?
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna propose that the court look at earmarking the $142,603 out of the excess fees for the purchase of that. And this is the way I understood it. It's the Verity Touch Writer Access Bundle, the print bundle, and the auto ballot, I guess the auto ballot kits. Some portions of that were not covered in that initial.
None of that
And this
was
would be, and this would be the perfect place to take it from, so that we keep it within that budget unit and we utilize that. So I'll propose that at the appropriate time.
Anybody have any other thoughts on that? Everybody good with that? Madam Treasurer, did you take note of that?
Yes, I agree.
Thank you very much. Jeff, I believe that's it, isn't it?
I think so. I hope so.
No, I think you're good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All righty. Jumping back up here, I guess we're back in work session. Ed Poe, he's unfortunately ill and was not able to come tonight, so our prayers are with Ed that he feels better. The next one, I'm gonna let Squire Sebastian talk a little bit about, if that's okay?
Absolutely. Thank you, Judge. So in regard to the traffic queuing at Duncan Road, you know, this court has been advised by the State Transportation Cabinet of traffic issues in that area, Versailles Road, I-64, Millville Duncan interchange, a number of times. The State Transportation Cabinet has been proactive, as we've all probably driven out Versailles Road and seen that they have worked on the interchange and widening some lanes and made the approaches and the exit ramps wider and easily more visible. And added turn lanes and other things. Now, the court has received a number of zone change requests in the last court, and I'm certain we will be looking at others that are impacted. So I just wanted the court to kind of, and talk to our P&Z office about taking note of the traffic queuing on Millville Duncan Road. It seems like every document or request for zone change we get has an issue in there with traffic queuing. And it's not to one specific project, it's to everything that we have seen in the past court in that area. So I'm thinking, the state was proactive in looking at that area. How can this court be proactive? And so is there a way for us to discuss that with our staff and then maybe to bring some proactive recommendations to us about traffic queuing? And we also know it's impacted, I was just gonna say, because, over on Glens Creek, there's that slide, and so traffic that could come out that way now has to go another way. And I've had an area like that, Big Eddy was like that, and I worked diligently for my constituents to get that reopened. So I know there's not a magic wand to wave to get those things corrected immediately, but us trying to be proactive, just, following state's pattern. So I just share that for that.
I guess I'll start real quick, and when you brought this up last time, we were all on the same page, and I think it's a great thing, and it's good that we're talking about it. I've reached out to Transportation, Jim Gray. I haven't heard back from him, because I think he's gonna be a big part of this puzzle. And then I believe Squire Blackburn has talked about Glens Creek Road, that he heard was supposed to be fixed by the end of the year, which will help with that. So, Robert, if you want to speak on it just for a second, as far as what your thoughts are about us being proactive.
Yes, thank you. So, along with those two options previously mentioned, the Transportation Cabinet did discuss reviewing the signal timing along Purcell's Road to minimize queuing towards the interstate. So that's another element that could help offset some of that traffic. But I do believe the reopening of Glens Creek Road, allowing that alternate access, will reduce the volume on Duncan Road. Additionally, the Transportation Cabinet could look at some improvements to Duncan Road. I know they've done some in the past. There could be some other improvements, perhaps a new signal down at Hooper Boulevard. They could serve as another outlet. They would have to do a signal warrant analysis in order to determine if there's enough flow. I think we've got several traffic studies from previous projects here in the last few years. They can say, look, here's the volume coming through the intersection of Duncan Road. If you could divert 25% to the other intersection on Hoover, then you could reduce your delays closer to the interchange. Judge Mueller and his ability to contact or reach out to Secretary Gray, I think is an excellent start. I think we all know Matt Bullock with District 5, he's the highway engineer. We could reach out to him as well and see if we can't put something together to provide some relief. This area of the county is interesting because the AM and PM peaks are different than the normal AM PM peaks that you would see in a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4:30 job, because the factories run on a slightly different schedule. And so it makes for a unique situation. And I think that needs to be taken into account too, the way the factories, we need to communicate with them and say, are you ramping up shifts? Are you adding more employees? And as part of that whole analysis, because in these traffic studies for developments, they are looking at a trip generation manual based on an adopted policy or methodology by the Transportation Engineers Association. So it's the
2 hour AM, 2 hour PM.
Right. Yes, and then they'll give a certain volume for a given land use. So there are certain assumptions that the traffic engineer has to make. And the cabinet will do that as well, but to be more specific, they will place counters out to know the exact volumes. And that's what occurred in this traffic study, but it was for a short period of time. But it's important and imperative that we work with Transportation Cabinet for at least the 3 elements that have been mentioned today. Opening of Glens Creek Road, looking at signal timing on Purcell's Road, and possibly some improvements to Duncan Road. And I think you had mentioned one other thing perhaps, but I hope I covered them all. So it's important that we work directly with the cabinet. The senior housing project that's under construction, somewhat close to completion, won't generate a whole lot of volume. That's more of an assisted living type facility. There will be some service vehicles in and out quite regularly, but this has become an attractive area in the county. I mean, everyone likes to be near the interchange, and so each time one of these projects comes through, it gives us more information to provide to the cabinet, because you know, at the local level, we get that kind of detailed information. And we do consult with the cabinet, as you can see in your packet, there were emails with the District 5 permit engineer. But to be proactive, we need to say, hey, here's 5 traffic studies in the last 3 years. We need your help.
How much interaction are you able to have when they propose a traffic study? I know on this particular traffic study for this one with Ms. Zimmerman, it was done August 16th. It's like second week of school. I know on a previous one, I'd ran the dates on it, and there was actually a plant that was in downtime. It was shut down. So it affects the time. So if we can collaborate with those plants like you just mentioned and make sure that everything is running normally, that we don't have a plant shut down, that something's not going to adversely affect it for or against the study being a normal, real study. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, correct. Now, the Transportation Cabinet will not accept a traffic study if schools are not in session.
Right, right.
So that's.
But I mean, if we could have a little bit, you know, input, say, if we talk to KCDC or talk to those individual, you know, facilities to say, are y'all on normal schedule? Is everything going fine? Because we're going to do a study between these 2 dates, and if there's anything happening, you know, we'd like to be aware of it. Yeah, if there's a plant shut down, we got 200 employees not showing up for a day, and they run the study for 3 days and pick a day, and it's that day, it could adversely affect the study.
A huge impact, you're correct.
Squire Tracy?
Robert, how much input do we have in regards to times that the study's done? If it's done from 9 to 2, it's not gonna help us at all.
Correct. No, they're always done with an AM and PM peak.
Right, but do we have any input on that? Obviously, we all know Versailles Road's busy at 7:30, we all know it's busy at 4:30.
If there is something unique that we are aware of, then we can let the traffic engineer say, hey, when you're doing counts, be sure you capture, you know, X. I mean, but it needs to be something that's consistent. It can't be like, hey, there's a parade, you know, tomorrow
Yeah, no, I
forward,
get
you know. Count that.
But I think Squire Tracy, kind of your point, I mean, Line Class is one of our biggest, you know, employers. So, I mean, you get hundreds and hundreds of cars leaving.
Shift change
multiple
at
times a
7.
day. So,
I think the study was at 7 to 9:30 on this one,
Yeah.
Yes.
which is good. And then I think it was in the afternoon, it went till 4:30,
4 to 5:30 or 5:45, I believe it went.
something like that. But you're right, if they have an early shift, it changes things.
That's correct.
But I think the key thing is we have multiple, so we're not relying on one.
Yeah, yeah.
We're looking at multiple snapshots as things have grown in the area, just to make sure that we're capturing. And again, I think this court is trying to be very proactive in how it works for its business customers and also individual homeowners in the area. So we're trying to capture everything for everyone and make this a safe route to wherever you're going.
That is correct. And if you'll note in the narrative on this traffic study, they did account for the other projects that were already approved either through my office or by the planning commission. Even though they're not complete, they still went ahead and counted for their volumes in the projected build out.
Is that through the conceptual plans or the finished plan?
Finished plans.
Okay.
And so when I have conversations with either the applicant or their traffic engineer or the planning commission's traffic engineer, I always note that, oh, hey, by the way, we've permitted, 83 senior units. We've got, X and Y, that's
Right.
going out. And so we can provide them with drawings, the uses, and then they can go back through their manual and say, okay, it's going to project X number of trips, per day.
There won't be a lot of vehicles because of the assisted living, but there will be probably emergency vehicles going in and out of there too, because of
yes.
assisted living.
Yes, that's true. And then the closest ambulance would be the city at Spaghetti Junction in Georgetown Road.
Yeah.
You got the Crown Club out there. You've got a diverse mix
Yeah, there's a
of use out there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robert. Sherry, thank you, Squire Sebastian. Thank you for bringing it up, putting it on the agenda. I think it's a great thing, and it was a good conversation to have, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty, we're gonna go on, authorization for minutes. Anybody have any questions on the minutes? No questions, moving on. I believe Mr. Hancock has covered the next couple items. So we are down to number 7. And our jailer, Mr. Bonta.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the court. Glad to be here. We're talking today about an MOA from Juan Joyce Robinson, and I'm gonna let, Major King, which was promoted in October. Some of y'all may know and may not know that, Chief Mazzacone was professional enough to let us know that he's planning on retiring towards the end of the year. So Miss Major King is in training, so tonight she's gonna present this MOA to you, and take it easy, please.
This is also Amy Snow with the Water Robbins Foundation. She's the president. Our social worker couldn't be here tonight, so she'll kind of summarize what all they will really be doing. I wanted to hit on a few things in this. This grant was approved already through 2025 at no cost to the county. We were just to provide the space and the training for her, for the social worker, which she has already completed all of her training that she's required to, and we've got her office set up and all the equipment she needs for that, and the reports she needs and all that. We've got all that set up for her to start. Another thing on this that I wanted to hit on is they're going to provide a second employee to teach parenting classes. Right now at the jail, we were previously with Bluegrass Care Navigators through a grant, and that ran out, I believe, in December of this year. They worked with opioid addiction, people with opioid addictions. Right now, we have programs at the jail through the Department of Corrections that only work with state inmates. So that could be someone here or from another county. This program and the social work will be able to work with people in Franklin County. So this is directly going to benefit families, children, and individuals who are in our community and give them the help and assistance that they need to succeed.
Thank you. So it has been a fast and furious 4 months. Of course, we were notified of the award at the end of September. In October, our board of directors met weekly, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week, planning for the hiring of employees. We were able to work with retired city manager John Morrow, who came in and helped us with our interview process. We've hired our first 2 staff in the month of November, which includes our director of development and our Amachi match specialist. Amachi is actually a national mentoring program, so we're excited about being able to start that with our elementary kids. In December, we moved into an office. Prior to that, we just had a little bitty room at the King Center and a storage unit. So we were able to, bring on our first 2 staff, move into our office, and have holiday assistants at Christmas time all together. And then in January, I was able to come on full-time in the director of program role, executive director role, and then we've just hired our social worker. Also in January, we've really been able to put our operations in place, our systems, our tracking. We've purchased a monitoring database. You could think of it similar as like the school Infinite Campus. We're able to collect demographic information. We're able to enter case notes. We're able to direct message families. So we know in Franklin County, there's over 800 children impacted by incarceration. We have upwards close to 500 in that database. So I'm super pleased about that we have at least 50% in there. With bringing on Amy Perry as our social worker, I have to say she was a champ. She completed the full training, including.
I will add that during that training, I don't require a volunteer to go through pepper spray or taser training, and she volunteered to do it.
Wow.
So
she did the full training.
I'm not real certain on her sanity, but she did it, and she did well with it. She volunteered and did not have to do it, and it's not pleasant.
Absolutely, super proud of her. So Monday was her first day in our office. We flushed out consent forms. We'll have parents sign a consent form that they'll work with us. We have created a survey that will go out to 100% of all incarcerated parents in Franklin County for them to fill out. So we know on any given month there's approximately 160 parents incarcerated. 130, 140, we'll see the actual number soon, are parents. So we, starting out, there's no way we can service 130 mothers and fathers immediately. So we wanted to send this survey out because while we may not be able to work directly with each and every parent, we can work with their children. That's what we've been doing. So we want to do that assessment to see, you know, do their children need to be in the crush group at their school? Do they need to have a sponsorship for an extracurricular activity? Those type of outside wraparound support that we can provide for the kids. But what we will start with is probably just a small group of 10, and we'll grow it from there. But it will be parents that Major King and I identify. And Amy has developed, she's working with our Director of Development, I believe they have a finished draft of a needs assessment. And that's Amy's background. She worked Child Protective Services and targeted case management her entire career. So really excited that she's bringing that knowledge and expertise to servicing our families. Where we are now, Major King mentioned the parenting curriculum. We wanted an evidence-based parenting curriculum that is inclusive of the incarcerated parent. So we actually have a meeting with the acting commissioner of the Department for Children and Families in 2 weeks, so that we can get approval for families that are involved with the state that this curriculum will meet their case plans. So, you know, that we intend that will be approved. And so in the coming months, we'll be able to hire a parenting class instructor who will go through training. Originally, the grant was written for that to be in the social worker role, but as we started thinking about that, that's a full day, maybe 2 days out of the week. So we wanted to bring in a contract staff for that, because that class will start, and then it's possible that there would be a second class, and then that class will continue upon re-entry at our office. So that person can be running 2 and 3 classes at a time. And that's where we are.
Perfect, thank you very much. I believe Squire Sebastian had a question. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just gonna say, I know the Fiscal Court served as the applicant for this grant, and the funds are gonna pass through our body to the foundation for these services. So it's a really powerful statement now to see that the initial project steps before us and see how that's gonna roll out and hear about the plans. So in the document that we received, in the background section, it states that there's a social worker that will be hired by the foundation. So is that social worker going to be dedicated fully to this project, or will they have other programmatic, I guess, responsibilities with the foundation?
Dedicated fully to this project.
Okay.
She will be based out of the jail. She'll be in the jail.
Okay. And then, again, in that background section, it goes on to say that a second contract employee is going to perform classroom instruction. So are both of the foundation personnel, are they both actually, they're going to be contracted, correct? Both
The
of those?
parenting class instructor will be contracted. Our social worker is a full-time employee.
So all direct service personnel then that are involved in this project are all contract, right? Are all contracted employees? All direct service personnel, are they contracted employees?
Yes, they're paid through
Somebody.
by Wanda Joyce Robinson Foundation, not the court.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to find out if they're actually employees of the foundation or if they're contracted. And ultimately, where I'm going with this, go ahead.
Yes, with Wanda Joyce.
Okay, so they're.
The contract will be with Wanda Joyce.
Right. So, I guess where I'm going ultimately is just want to be sure that the foundation meets the MOU deliverables. Because if these contracted staff, you know, are unavailable, for example, if we have 2 people and somehow somebody gets sick, you know how this works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and in a situation that could come up, trying to figure out how we make sure that we meet those deliverables. I wasn't sure if there were other staff on board at the foundation who would step in to take a class and a caseload for a week if somebody had to do that, to keep everything on track. So that's ultimately where I'm going with it, so just
Yes,
logical
we certainly would.
flow.
And to an extent, to a degree, we already kind of do that.
And to take that a step further, Squire, we learned from our last grant with UK Health and Bluegrass Care Navigators that in the middle of that grant, the Bluegrass Care didn't cover our counselor for insurance. So we made sure to put that in here, that they covered that insurance. So we lost that counselor for a couple of months until they got that figured out. And ultimately, UK had to hire the counselor to bring her back in the jail.
Yeah.
So we're learning.
So there's a reason that she asked all these questions. And so I noticed here in section 4B, it talks about access. So will the access that's noted here in 4B on-site, remote, or is it both? Because it says they're going to be, have access to jail management database.
Yeah,
So is that only in the building, or
Yes.
can they
Well,
remote in from other places? Because,
I
you
can
know,
I can send it via email. It's just a report that we have in our jail tracker system, so I can send it via email. She's not there.
it's a report. They're
It's-
not accessing the database, because there's a
They
whole
can,
different
they
ballgame.
can
on that.
access it to look at it. They cannot change anything in it.
Okay.
We set that up.
So it's
through our-
read-only,
Yes.
on-site,
Yes.
read-only.
So that counselor can look up that incarcerated individual and know the charges and specifics, but they cannot get into it and change anything into our system.
Okay.
Great question.
Barb Blackburn?
You had mentioned you've got some state inmates. Will this program be extended to them as well?
We're gonna start it just with county
Okay.
inmates.
And I just want to tell everybody, I've known Amy for a long time, and she was the boots on the ground. The amount of work that she did personally, above and beyond the time frame that she was contracted or paid to do her job. You know, when you said if somebody's not there, Amy's
It'll
going
be
to
Amy.
Amy's going to bust the door up and say, "I'm here." It's going to happen. I think the money of this grant couldn't be in better hands, and I'm excited. I'm excited for what you all are doing, and the collaboration you all have is going to be amazing.
The brains are on that side of the room. I'm just smart.
Hey, you're a facilitator.
He
Come on
said
in.
it. He said it.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I only have one question. Do y'all coordinate any of this with the Franklin County Health Department?
Not with the health department, although I work closely with the health department through our
I got a
ASAP
HANDS
council.
program, which is,
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we've
That has
been
been a
able to
great
bring,
program.
we've been able to bring hands into the jail, which is a first time.
so that would be some coordination with the health department if you're using HANDS program. that
That's
they-
through us, though.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Squire Westman?
I just had one concern. Well, Ms. Squire Sebastian answered most. But the contract has a 30-day cancellation notice, but it doesn't reflect the grant guidelines or grant mandate. Just wanted to make sure that that the language is matched between the two. I don't have anything about what the grant
The
requirements
grant was,
were,
yeah,
but
the grant was approved back in last year. So we've been trying to get the counselor hired for a while. So I understand your question, and I don't have any answers for you right in front of me.
just that note that the contract doesn't specifically reflect anywhere that I could see that it will fulfill all requirements of the grant, and that
Sure.
Wanda Joyce Robinson Foundation will be the responsible party for fulfilling any requirements that aren't specifically stated. Might be a good addendum to add.
Okay.
Any other questions? I want to thank you all.
I have something to say. I've worked with both of these ladies, and I'm just gonna tell you, there's no better humans to run this program. Absolutely no better humans. So I'm so proud of you guys. And I thank you so much for what you're doing. And I'll thank him too, just because I feel like I have to, but.
I'll take it.
They're awesome.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for everything you all do. All right, moving on. Hey, Mr. Rick Waddle here.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
Doing fine, thank
Good. Thank you for coming.
you guys.
So he's here to present the Alcoa Water District report. Is there anything you want to say on it, or?
Well, I'll give you just a little spiel, because I know you guys probably want to get on home soon, but this particular audit came under the new reporting profile, so the opinion, which used to be called unqualified, qualified, adverse, has changed to unmodified, which is your clean opinion, and modified, and then back to adverse, I believe. And the opinion on this particular audit is unmodified, is a clean opinion. I really didn't see any issues whatsoever under this engagement.
Questions for Mr. Waddle? Sebastian?
So
I knew you were gonna.
Thanks for being with us tonight. I didn't know if there was any member of the board, because some of the questions I may ask may not be things that you are able to answer based on information from your client, okay? So in looking at page 1 here on the non-current assets, where it gives the total property, plant, and equipment, and it looks to me like that's about a 300% increase. Do we know what drove that increase? Did they buy new equipment? Did they upgrade the plant? Just, I mean, just trying to understand if it went from like where the grant, where we gave them for new meters, that's where I was going with it, because I presumed it was something like that, it was new meters, because Fiscal Court gave them $100,000 for new meters. So that's it. I answered my own question. Thank you. I just wasn't sure about that. And then on page 3, I see it talks about the cash flow from capital and related financing activities. So the acquisition of capital assets looks to me has increased, this debit's about 4,000%. Do we know what drove that? I mean,
Yes,
it's
they-
huge.
They took out a new bond, a new loan.
So it was just a new bond?
Yes,
Okay.
to get the equipment put in that they needed to service.
Okay, that's good. Sounds like proactive out there to serve customers. And then it looks like their operating income dropped. So, and that looked like that dropped about 250%. So what
That
could have
generally happens
impacted
when you put new equipment
when new
in.
equipment comes in, because you're
You're
starting
going to service it.
Yep.
And that was one of my questions also. And that is what happened.
Okay. And then I noticed let's see, I think it was on page 4 of this, and this is just a persnickety thing for me. At the beginning, it says that Elkhorn Water District is a political subdivision of Franklin County. So I'm going to say, I don't know how this gets amended, and the counselor can tell me, it's not a political subdivision. They're standalone special purpose governmental entities. I say this every time one of these comes in here. So I don't know how that gets addressed, because I'd hate for somebody to pull this report, because we get asked by constituents all the time, well, it says that they're part of Franklin County government, and they're not. We all know that. They're their own standalone. We don't do anything with the budget. We don't have any administrative dealings with them. We don't do any of that. We don't approve their budgets. We don't.
Who appoints the board member? Is it the judge?
Yes, you do.
The court approves the board members, but we don't do anything with their administration. We don't tell them how to spend their money. We don't do any of those things. So I don't know how it gets at that, because we get questions a lot on the court. You know, why aren't you?
You're speaking to the right person.
Yeah.
Because I can work on that for you.
I think we need to ask that question of,
That's
if
where
we're
it's
political,
going.
if the county is a political subdivision of the state, which neither does it approve our budget or direct us how we're gonna spend the money, then, and the people appoint us, basically, not the state, but we're a political subdivision of the state. So I don't see how the sewer districts or the water districts are not a political subdivision of the county. They're not.
They're set up by a special document.
They're special districts. They are special districts, but they're approved and established by the county.
I'd have to go check out the document that was actually set up that specific special district, as there are multiple special districts throughout Franklin County, to see what exactly, I know in some of them, as I've dealt with one here recently, there was certain things that the county held back that they can still, I guess, have an opinion on. So I would have to go and actually check the document that would set up this.
And I bring that up,
special district.
our prior, and certainly this was in a prior court, our prior county attorney was mindful and reminded us very frequently of this fact, the one that I'm bringing up. So, and this will give our current county attorney the opportunity to look at that and advise this body on that.
I think it's good.
So that would be
He needed-
helpful for
He
all
needed a
of
little
us.
homework, Squire Sebastian.
I mean, it would just be helpful for all
Not
of
that
us
it matters.
when we're responding to questions, because we get, I know I get asked questions about the water district. I get questions about a $3 surcharge just about every day for one that I deal with, just about every day.
Any other questions for Mr. Watt? Thank you very much for coming in, sir.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Next one,
See you.
Mr. David Harris. Seems like just yesterday you were in here.
All the time.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you all for having me. I'll tell you what, I want to take just a second too on the Joyce Foundation that Amy was just up here. We represent them as well, and in their infancy, when they first began, they really had no direction. That thing really was kind of running all over the place. Amy has stepped in and almost single-handedly got that thing organized, got it growing. She's done a fantastic job with that organization. So I think you'll find that your money's going to be well handled. Okay, with that being said, yes, I've got our audit for the Farmville Water District for their fiscal year end. I noticed everyone's is on a calendar year, and ours, this one will be for the fiscal year in June 22nd, June 21st. We audited, our firm audited both of those years in each year. Before you is a 37 page report. I could spend, if you wanted to, in real detail, I could spend till about midnight on that if you wanted to.
I bet it's a couple highlights.
I'm gonna try to condense that down. If you've got any questions, I have no problem, just stop me and I'll answer those. As Rick was saying, they have changed the rules and stuff, the entities that govern our industry have changed a lot about what the audit representations are. With that being said, you'll notice this year that the opinion is actually appearing at the front of the audit. And it is an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, which is what you would hope for. But we also give much more detail on the basis for our opinion, what our responsibilities are, what the responsibilities of management are. And those are all listed out through there. And we also talk about, because these are, this is issued under the Yellow Book standards because of the federal money that has come through there, so that there is some required supplemental information that is listed on there. And then the other required reporting documents under the general governmental auditing standards. So what you have before you is GAAP-based, governmental Yellow Book-based, and accrual-based financial statements. With that being said, the next number of pages are your management discussion and analysis. I'm going to be hitting those as I look at the actual financials themselves, so that I don't double up and consume more of your time than I need to. So if you look at page 12, that's the beginning of the statement of net position, which most of you will consider that your statement or your balance sheet statement. You'll see on here that the current assets are $313,000, down from $563. Most of that's in cash, and we'll talk about that in just a second. You will see on there we continue to increase on the plant work in process as engineering costs, plan development costs continue out there, because we have there's two things going on out there at Farmdale Sanitation. Basically the operations of the acquired small sewer districts or small sewer companies that were out there, as well as the development trying to get online with the new project. On page 13, you'll see a little bit of accounts payable, some current liabilities, and basically the net worth of the sanitation district, which is a little over $2 million. $1.8 million of that is invested in the capital assets, another required disclosure in governmental accounting. Under the revenues, expenses and change in net position, this is your income statement. You'll notice that our income is down, but that's mostly through the grants. You've got your Fiscal Court grant there at $96,000, your KI grant at $56,000, and your EPA federal at $109,000. And also, for those that are new on here, I don't know, those of you that aren't new, you'll remember that there was the $30,000 loan, and that you all did grant forgiveness to that last fiscal year, so that moved off the books over to the income statement. The operational side of this, the sewer fees at $522,000 for the year. Pretty much everything that's underneath that are operational expenses. The direct operational expenses are the monthly operational management fees and the repairs and maintenance. I'll point attention to the repairs and maintenance. As you know, those systems out there are very old, they've got a lot of problems. That jumped from $120,000 to $449,000 this year. So basically that, in and of itself, when you look over at the next page, accounts for the big decrease in the net income from $667,000 down to $116,000. Farmdale has been granted for this current fiscal year that we're in a decrease for their fees, and so that's going to hopefully help offset some of that. I'll give the cash flow statement. That's just the documentation of where the cash came from. I normally just kind of hit this a lick, but since Sebastian brought this up, this has been our opinion on these. These are, when you have your water districts, your sewer districts, these are actually enterprise, government enterprise zones, not zones, but entities. Basically, they are created under KRS statutes by the local governments, but they do operate independently. I'll just read you this. This is how we've always interpreted it. Farmdale Sanitation District was established in February of '04 under KS 6717 reorganization powers, which authorizes the county and the judge executive with the approval of fiscal court to create and establish any special district, which is what basically what this is. The district's main function is to provide collection and disposal of sewage. I'll skip that. The district serves primarily the residents, and you see that through there. The district is not considered a component unit of Franklin County. Franklin County does not exercise financial, accounting, or administrative control over this district. Therefore, the financial statements of the district are not included in the financial statements of Franklin County. So, now that's our position as we've interpreted it. So, as far as anything else to point out, I've already talked about the basis of accounting. Tax status, you're exempted under 115 because you are appointed by the county government. You have no restricted assets. The loans, we did talk about those just a second. As of June 30th of 2022, all the loans have been paid for or forgiven, mostly forgiven. A little bit of it had been paid, but we are at a zero balance. It's at June 30th of 22. Your cash, or their cash, sits at $180,000 at the end of the year. It's in an uninsured risk category 1, which means that it all is FDIC insured. Nothing at the end of the year exceeded the $250,000. That wasn't true the year before. We did have $177,000 that did exceed that, but with the expenditures of those funds, they just brought that down below the limit.
David, can I ask a question about that? So, if the balance goes above $250,000?
Yes.
What would the district do, because that happens for Elkhorn, they're above, so they've got like $9,000 kind of hanging out there that's not insured.
Well, what happens? Here's what I'm not absolutely sure of, because it'd be a question for the bank actually. When you deal with a governmental entity, they actually have to provide bonding inside the bank that guarantees that, so that the public monies at no certain time can be at risk. When you're talking about...
Thank you for, I didn't want to try to explain that. I know you can do a better job than me.
So I'm not sure that applies to this. Again, what's at risk, the bank would have to fail. And so you're talking about something that would be a pretty far-reaching, far-fetched idea in this economy, but the possibility's there, so we disclose that.
Okay, thank you.
Talking about the past due from Fiscal Court that you all are well aware of. The loans, like I said, are already paid off. The subsequent event, that increase in rate is expected to increase revenue by $19, anticipated increase by $19.50 per month per customer. So that should be quite significant actually. Liquidity and availability, this is just talking about the liquidity of the district. I don't think there's any issue there at all. You're running at 45% of annual needs, and that's pretty strong. Nothing really of great significance in our internal control report or our management letter. So I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Does the court have any questions? Mr. Harris, thank you very much for coming to see us. Court, if it's okay with you, I'm going to break item 15 on Mr. Kenny Hogston. Came kind of last minute. So Kenny, if you don't mind, why don't you come forward? And while you're here, I want to recognize some gentlemen that are with you. Hank, Ray, and Charlie, you all have been working hard on this, and Squire Sebastian's right there with you. This has been something that's been going on Robert Hewitt, you could probably tell me 20 years. I mean, I don't know. It's been a long time, it seems like. So this is a pretty monumental thing in front of us right now. Mr. Max Conley, do you want to talk about this at all? Since it's kind of a legal thing, please.
Talk about the agreement as far as between, I thought, that's Mr. Holt.
Yeah, well, that's fine. He's here to answer any questions, but yeah. Kenny, real quick, you just want to tell kind of a cliff notes what this is to everybody and everybody watching?
Yeah, this has been years in the making, even on my part of it. I mean, obviously, Farmdale was formed 20-plus years ago to provide sanitation out there. Obviously, it's taken a long time to get to where we're at now. Even for us, it's taken a long time. But the agreement that you have in front of you right now, one has been accepted by Farmdale and the city as well. It's our goal in this whole agreement was to have everybody have the exact same stake. That comes from the discounted amount of sewer fees that the city's going to charge Farmdale, plus the extra capacity that the city is going to build into the pump stations out there for future connections if needed. My goal in the whole thing was to protect the county, the city, and Farmdale. Each one has their own role, and my goal is for Farmdale to operate continuously forever and, not cause them to go bankrupt, obviously. So, and that's what, as this is going to be a kind of a living document, this is what we're going to be here. I'm sure somewhere down the road, 5 or 10 years from now, we're going to say, hey, this isn't working out. We need to make an amendment to change something. But it gives everybody the same amount of power to do that. So no one entity can say, I'm in charge. It's all as fair as what I can say we could make it. That was our whole goal in this.
Any questions from the court to Mr. Hogston? Squire Tracy.
On page 7, I read that it says, all new industries must be approved in writing by the City of Frankfort Sewer Department before the industry will be allowed to discharge into the district's collection system.
Correct.
And what you said is that growth has been figured into this.
Yeah, and the reason that statement is there is because per KDOW permit statutes, because Farmdale will not be the actual publicly owned treatment works that will be treating the industrial waste, our pre-treatment program has to come under, that's what they have to fall under. So that's why we have to approve. And it's more of, we have to approve, because if someone comes in and says, I want to put a plating factory out there, that's a huge red flag for us to say, okay, you're trying to go into an underserved area, there's something wrong. And that's where you get your heavy metals, those types of things that would be discharged. So that's why they need to fall under our pre-treatment. That's basically why it's there. It's not there, there's two reasons. One for industrial pre-treatment, but secondly, to make sure that, if somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to put a 5 million gallon discharge, but there's no facilities to handle it, obviously we can't approve that just because it's not slated for that type of flow. Any other questions from Mr. Hogston? No? Again, thank you very much for coming in. I want to thank you guys for being here, Squire Sebastian, Robert Hewitt. I mean, this is go ahead.
Does any of the board members want to speak?
Does anybody want to speak? Any of the board members want to speak?
Just appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. All righty. Number 10, authorization of written compensation of our executive assistant. All righty, we're going to ask our treasurer, Department to come up, please. Give the treasurer's report.
So in your packet, I've given you the revenues and the expenses. Just remember that even though this is the last day of the month, this was prepared for your packet several days before, so it is not a complete picture. I do want to point out, if you can turn to your revenue report, page 4. Account 844504-001 is a new account. and it's LATCF grant. That stands for Local Assistance and Travel Consistency Fund. That came in December. It's $50,000. And our previous grant administrator did say we have another round of that for $50,000, and that should hit the same budget year. And in your packet, I do have all the guidelines. Thank you, Squire Dykes, for providing that for me, for you to see what that money can be used for, and the guidelines for that.
Any questions for our county treasurer?
What can some of those funds be used for?
What can't.
No, what can it be used for?
It's all in that paperwork. I know just about as much as you do on it.
I can send it to you. There's a lot.
Can you give me a hint, like in a direction?
It's
don't make me
really,
get my phone.
No,
it
it's just,
seems to follow the guidelines of ARPA money.
okay,
It
okay.
really is very simple.
Yeah, that's all I needed. Thanks. I wasn't trying
I'm
to
gonna
split
send
hairs.
you an email.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing no questions, we're gonna move on. Thank you. Payment of bills. Don't know if Kim's here, but I think Amy could probably cover it.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you are? Sorry, I couldn't see you.
I'm just kidding.
Well, come on up to the podium. Everyone wants to see you. Thank you for being here, Kim. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. Page 3, account 0191000571, the vehicle repair. Which vehicle is this? Because that looks pretty extensive. Did we get a brand new transmission in this vehicle? It looks like, did we get new rotors or did we turn the rotors?
It
look like
belongs to the planning and zoning department.
Major.
Robert, do you want to speak on that?
Looks like lots of work.
Transmission.
Sure.
New transmission?
No, ma'am. So this vehicle has 120,000 miles on it. It's a 2014 F-150 4x4. The emergency brake had locked up, which then damaged all the calipers, which then in turn damaged the rotors, which ate through all the pads on all 4 wheels. The check engine light was on, which was a computer part that had to be diagnosed and replaced. And I don't know if you have the invoice there was something else.
We don't ever see the invoice, we just see an amount.
So
That's why I'm asking.
Did that happen during
questions.
that cold hit around Christmas?
On the check engine light?
No, on the brakes, the emergency brake.
Well, I heard it squeaking when I talked to my inspector outside the building one time when he pulled off. I just heard a squeak and asked him about it. He said, oh, that's my brakes need to check on it. And then when the check engine light came on, that's when we took it out to Ford and said, hey, will you diagnose it? Now, it'd be nice if we could have taken it to the road department, but they don't have the computer equipment to hook up to a
Right.
2014 Ford. So that diagnostic is quite expensive. So it's a complete brand new brake system. Of course, the vehicle's out of warranty already, so it was either ready to repair it or buy another truck. And I know it's a big bill, so, but we had always had them serviced at Ford because they were under warranty. We just kept going there, but there are some other shops that we're going to begin to utilize. They're locally owned. Instead of just going to Ford by default.
Any other questions for Kim?
One, Robert, while you're up here.
Yes.
Our comprehensive plan contributions, $6,783. I'm wondering is that it has a 12.5 to 12.31, but that's a quarter investment, right? It's not for that period. Can you elaborate on that?
It should have been just for that services
right
for that
here.
period.
Just for that period.
Let me flip to this.
12.5 to 12.31, less than a month.
The other question I have, did they do this?
Okay, so that would have been the service dates on the end.
Will they fix it themselves?
Oh, yes.
For the-
For
for
right
Robert.
here, there, yes. And that's just the county's portion of
At least the brakes, maybe not the rest. Let's hear you,
Any other questions?
No other questions? Thank you very much. Next agenda item is the zone change. I believe that's before us. If we discussed this, we had the first reading, last court meeting tonight is the second reading. Robert, can answer any questions, or our county attorney, if anybody has anything to add.
And the applicant had raised, at the previous meeting, raised an issue regarding a potential conflict of interest with one of the magistrates. And I'm just putting this on the record. The magistrate has decided not to recuse themselves from this vote. And so the applicant requested that we just note for the record that this has been brought forward if this matter were to potentially go forward with some type of litigation. And so just to note that for the record.
Thank you. All right, does anybody have anything to discuss on this item? All right, seeing none, we're going to keep moving. All right, this is an exciting one. Exciting. I see Mr. Randy Royer that is on TV and has patiently been waiting. He's with the Hitchcock Group, so we appreciate you being on here, Mr. Royer. Charlie, if you want to come on up and you want to talk about this a little bit, I think it'd be good. You or Robert. Don't fight over who comes out.
Thank you, Judge. Good evening, Court. We have before you an authorization to approve an agreement with Codell Construction Company on a standard design build for the Lakeview Park Master Plan. We had the meeting of the whole where we kind of went over everything. I know some of you had, you know, you need to take it with you and go over it in detail. So if you've got some questions tonight for myself, Robert, the Park Committee, Randy, I'm not sure if Mr. Codell is.
I don't believe he's on.
But,
Well, he might be.
I'm on it. Okay. So Mr. Codell's with us, so if you have any questions in regards to the contract, we'll take a moment and go over those.
Does anybody have any questions on this? So was somebody from the Park Committee, either Squire Blackburn, Squire Tracy, like to kind of explain for all the people kind of maybe watching where we are?
Yeah, this agreement here, or this, that's in front of us will, I guess, will be the start of the process. I think, we were told about 4 months, we should have a conceptual design, top to bottom, infrastructure. So in about 4 months, we should know how the park could potentially look. And I think the last thing that any of us wanted to do was go in and piecemeal it to where we would or could have to go back in and rip a new program out because it was put in the wrong spot because of infrastructure or so forth. So, like I said, this is just the beginning of it.
And I think to expand on Squire Tracy's remarks, the piecemeal part, we absolutely could piecemeal it, but this part of it gives us all the information we need for every part of the plan to where we can pick and choose without stepping on the toes of other parts and other programs. So it allows us to see the conceptual placement of things, where we can and can't, the geotechnical data, all that stuff, sewer locations, any easements, anything like that is going to be covered in this. And I think it's a really smart step in the right direction. And to be honest with you, I think this is just a little bit more expensive than at this 129 acre property as it is right at just the road department. So if you're comparing, you know, this is a great step in the right direction for I think a good price.
Yeah, and I would like to just add, I mean, this is, to me, I mean, I think this court has demonstrated, quality of life for our citizens of Franklin County and economic development too. So just real quick, for whoever's watching, basically this is going to be, for estimating, management services, schematic drawings, research, wetland detention, areas, geological tech studies, boring, soil samples, traffic studies. That was a big thing. Some people inquired about traffic studies. The one thing, and I will say this to the court, Robert got Randy some information today about the boundary and topo stuff we had talked about in that meeting. So we're gonna knock that down to 15,000 from 45. So that's gonna change the overall number, which I could read during the vote. But I just wanted to kind of go over what this includes, just so everybody knew where we were. But I think it's a huge step that we're making for our community, and I think it's amazing.
On the topo, was that gonna be 24-inch graduations, or are we gonna cut it down to a 1-foot graduation? Or closer?
I provided 2-foot contours throughout the entire park. Originally they had asked for 1 foot, but since it's just for schematic design, they said they could get by with 2-foot contours. So
Okay.
that will save them a lot of time, and of course you can see.
And we won't have to do it for the whole park when we do get to the point to where if we are going to build a building or a structure or anything, we could do it for that specific
Correct,
location.
you can shoot grade for that project site.
Wonderful.
As it is. And then, so in addition to the contours, I provided the ortho imagery, the wetlands map, the sinkholes per the state, road center lines throughout the park, and then I will be working with Randy and his staff for any additional information they think would be helpful to them. I will contact the utility companies and request permission to release portions of their data. That way everything ties in geographically in the same projection, so that we're all looking at the same thing the same way. So it just helps speed things up and save some money.
So that particular thing saved us what?
30K.
30K?
Yeah.
Thanks, Robert.
You're welcome.
It may be more, but to be honest, when Randy and I talked before the meeting, we want to leave some in there. We didn't want to be cut
Right.
short, in case they use, but there's potential, they're not going to use that 15. But we wanted to leave it in there because we didn't want to come back to the court and say, well, now we need it. So, Randy, is there anything you'd like to say since you've patiently been waiting?
No, I'm just happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Squire Wisman.
One statement I think that elaborates on what you all said, that it's important maybe for the public that might be watching, that this is a preliminary in some ways for the final design phase. This doesn't develop the final buildings or even their exact placement in the park, so some of that is still to be fleshed, but this is going to inform where and where those can't go. I thought that was an important note. I brought up at the meeting of the whole, though, that the time frame for this, unless the inventory and analysis phase has been done prior to the contract, still says December and January. Should we modify that because the deliverables are effectively at the end of March, which is very quick, and I just don't see that being possible.
Yeah. So
Yeah, Randy referenced that basically 4 months, because we were behind. So that was what was referenced.
So if it's okay with the court,
Amend the
we'll get that
contract at the end of
adjusted.
May.
Yeah, we will get that adjusted, and so tonight we can at least vote on the dollar amount. And
I'd like to circle back on one thing about the
Okay.
reimbursable expenses. We know that there are gonna be things like printing and mileage and the courier. But that 15% markup, I think that caused a few eyebrows to raise at the table when we were in the committee of the whole. So I don't know what wiggle room we still have in that but just again, circling back on that.
Jim, are you still on? We lose him?
I'm on. I heard something about the 15% on the reimbursables. I know we talked about that at the last meeting. What was the question?
So the question was, we talked about that at the last meeting to see if that markup, if there was wiggle room in the markup, because it's a markup of 15% on top of actual expenses. And so.
There is, how about, meet you halfway? How would that be?
So
You said 7.5% on anything?
Yes.
I'm looking at my brothers and sisters here at the court. Sheriff Sebastian does
That's
the same.
that's over and above and outside of the contract, correct? And I think they've got 4 meetings scheduled, whether it be Zoom or
In person.
Okay.
Yeah,
But,
we talked
yeah,
about it,
we-
they didn't think there was gonna be
Yeah,
anything in that.
They didn't think so,
Yeah.
but you know how that is.
Yeah,
and
understandable.
we're all
No,
just trying to
Absolutely.
be
Court
mindful.
Tanner.
Didn't, Mr. Hewitt say that did he agree that he would have to approve all of the reimbursements for anything over the project had to go through you before?
Well,
Yeah.
it'll come to the committee, whatever.
We would spend no reimbursable money without getting prior approval.
Yeah.
From Rob.
Mr. Hewitt or the court.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I'm just trying to, again, demonstrate that we're trying to demonstrate our due diligence as we look through these documents. And since we did cover it at the committee of the whole, makes sense just to cover the same ground here, because there was, in the committee of the whole, there will never be a final action taken. It has to be here by the whole body once we've gavelled in. And so it's just to bring that back for that purpose.
Absolutely, and I don't, again, I don't anticipate many reimbursables, but we will certainly, before spending any court money, run everything through Mr. Hewitt.
So we've adjusted that now. That'll be
Yeah.
another adjustment to make. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cordell.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Barbara, with me?
I'm good.
So the only other thing, and I know Robert and I talked about this as far as timelines and how busy he is, so, what I would like to do, if it's okay with everybody, I haven't talked to anybody about this, but just listening, is, I think the point of contact maybe on this project, I would like to make it our deputy, Jack Kennedy, just to help Robert on, as far as not being bogged down, because this is gonna be a big project. And P&Z's gonna go through a whole lot of changes, so, if everybody's okay with that, I would like to do that.
To do what?
To make Jack Kennedy the point of contact just after all the schematics and all the GPS and all those things that Robert is, he does so well. But once that's handed over, once we kind of get into the next phases, I think that would help workloads, which we're looking at very hard around here, so everybody can be as efficient as possible. But ultimately, we're still gonna meet, as a committee to approve and change anything, so.
Judge, we talked about that 5,000 soil sampling. I think on that soil sampling, didn't it refer to sampling to make sure it had the proper nutrients for growth for the landscaping plants and things like that? It wasn't soil sampling as based on compaction and things like that.
Yes, and I provided
Okay, so
source
that's
layer
good.
through our GIS as well.
Good,
That was
good.
one thing I forgot to mention.
Yeah.
So they had.
Because I saw that and I was like, because I remember reading it was to see if the plants would grow. We're gonna make sure they grow.
Right, and which is different than
Yeah.
than boring for foundation design.
Right.
Okay.
I think, and here, I was getting ready to get to you, our treasurer.
I was being impatient.
No, I'm saving you. Go ahead, go ahead.
So, just if we could talk about, we don't have a line item for this. Is this something that you all feel comfortable doing a budget transfer, using ARPA money?
I believe, that's what I was gonna head and suggest, but it's the will of the court. What do you all think?
What is your recommendation as treasurer?
That's the only place that I see it.
Well, that sounds like, yeah.
So the question is can we take it, can we pull it out of reserves and still, my question always is, do we want to maintain a specific level of reserve? Because we are looking at, again, we've talked about this being a transformational project, and we know that that's what we're trying to target our ARPA funds for. Again, we still have some time to make some decisions about projects, and I think this court's trying to be forward-thinking in that regard. So I'm going to just circle back to see if I'm weighing the two baskets right now of ARPA and of reserves. I may come down on the side of reserves, if we have that. You're going to shake your head and say, yes, we do. I already know the answer to that one. So I'm just lobbing the softball out there and see Who wants to take a
So I
swing?
think Squire Sebastian's angle is because this isn't the big money, that we use it out of reserves and save the ARPA for once we start construction or what other projects, yeah, like this. Because in the training, a lot of it was, use it for something that you wouldn't be able to use it for, so.
Yeah, but that's just
Yeah,
my,
understandable. Let's talk about it. That's why we're here.
Can we ask our treasurer for the balance of each? I'm not putting my finger on it very quickly here.
So the ARPA unallocated is at 3.1. The reserves, I don't have that number. I want to say it's 8 to 9 million.
I thought it was 11, but I don't know.
Richard, we looked at that. Was it 11?
I thought it was, but I wouldn't sign my life to it, but I thought it was
I will
11
look at
million.
that again. It's hanging outside the
Yeah,
office.
I think it's 11 million
Might be.
from recollection.
So Amy, can you tell us why we should use one and
But that
not
3
the
million
other?
could have been in it, but I don't think so.
I can't. I feel like either one is you could go either way.
Well,
ARPA has restrictions, right?
Yeah, but this
Yes.
qualifies for it. Amy and I had talked today about rainy day funds and what we think we should hold. Squire Sebastian, and we've talked about this for many years, what do we think we should keep or have to keep, and what is the next disaster, when, when.
We
what is
haven't
it?
been privy to
Yeah,
that, so
gas
I'd like to hear
explosion.
some of it.
Well, basically, that's what we talked about, and there's no number, there's no certain number of what we think we should have as a reserve, because God forbid, look at Western Kentucky, a tornado comes through there, and, it's $100 million rebuild, so there's no right or wrong answer, we just kind of kicked it around informally today to kind of say, because we talked about this a little bit, what is that number? So, yes, I don't have any problem taking that out of reserve, and then saving the rest of the ARPA for obviously the build part. But like I said, this is just an open conversation.
My concern, Judge, is our bonding rating, that our reserves are set and usually based on what our rainy day fund is to some degree, right? And I don't believe ARPA are contributing or considered in those, but Amy's yet to be able to meet with our folks at.
A lot of the bond stuff, I
To
don't
consider a
think,
bond
I don't
rating.
think what we have in rainy day affects their bond rating. Bond rating is based on a lot of, how much debt we have and things like that, so that's at least how it's been explained to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
I don't think that's gonna affect, is that.
My previous experience was always that we needed a certain amount in reserve funds based on, in comparison to our debt, of course, our
Right.
active debts, to keep a substantial bond rating. So I'm leaning more towards, this is a planning activity. It's a one-time opportunity that we've had for this community in 20 or 30 years that ARPA funds would be appropriate to begin this process, and then we should consider those other funds that we have more regularly, that are more part of our average operating for debt service for bonding in the future. But it's as broad as long either way, right?
Yeah.
What's the will of the court?
I agree with you.
I'm fine really either way, but I would agree with her. I just think if we have it, we can bring it out and use it if you're comfortable with coming out of.
I'm not. But I'll do what you all want. I don't want us dipping in. And you're gonna hear that from me. I don't want us dipping into our reserves.
Yeah.
But, I'll do what you want.
If we're gonna go
That's your
forward
all's
with it, it's
call.
gonna come out of one of them.
That's the thing, it has to.
Got to come out of one of them.
And the key thing is, well, at least, while I've been on the court a previous term and this term, I have asked repeatedly to try to get an amount to set for our rainy day fund, so that we're not constantly, we do a great job of not dipping into that like it's a candy store. We did not do that in the previous court, and I think that I'm hearing the conversation here that this court doesn't want to do that as well. So I think that's laudable for everyone here sitting around the table for those things. The challenge for us is the amount of funds that we're going to have available for us in ARPA grow smaller and smaller, and there's going to be minimal impact that we're going to be able to have with that money if that pot continues to shrink. And we have heard at every conference and training about how transformational That money can and should be for the community. And that pot now, I see it continuing to get smaller and smaller. And so on my side of the table, I'm wondering what transformation are we going to be able to achieve with an extremely small pot now? So I throw that out there on the warm ears of my colleagues here to see what your thoughts are.
Is there opportunity to replace our investment funds from ARPA funds? If
I don't,
can we
I don't think
earmark this for? I don't think so, but
I
I'm
don't
asking.
think so. I'm not.
You can't swap it out into a fund.
You can't put money in the ARPA fund if we have money left over any year, any budget year, but you could put it in the other account. So that 3.1 million, if I understand your comments correctly, that's only we can take out, we can't really put in.
Well, let me add to that. I think part of the ARPA thing, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have to use it all on a project. Like, you know, we couldn't pay for half of a facility and then finance the other half. I mean, it has to be a big enough thing to pay for something, correct?
I have to research that.
You can't borrow money against.
You can't borrow money against it to pay, you know, to complete it. And I think that's Squire
we're
Sebastian's
just
point.
getting-
If we keep dwindling it down, it's not gonna pay for the first
It's
field.
not gonna pay for anything.
If there's nothing
Yeah.
left, so.
Correct.
So is the
But-
will
but
of the
again-
court, take it out of, just, well, here's the number.
I'm open for
The
whatever.
revised number, and you all don't have this, but that was after we did the subtraction of that money, is 429,975. That's gonna be the ask. So is it the will of the court that we just take that out of rainy day funds and make that ARPA money big so we can actually do something big with it?
I'm fine with it.
All right, Squire Tannen, can I get a head shake or not? Squire Douglas, Squire Blackburn? I know
What was your
Squire-
question? I was writing numbers down.
We're just trying to figure out if we keep it. if-
What pot?
if we're gonna
Which
take it out of
pot?
rainy day
You wanna
funds.
take
Right hand, left hand.
I'm fine with,
Because
I'm
it's
fine with
400,
it.
basically, you change. Squire Douglas? No pressure.
No, none.
I am anxious to set a reserve for our rainy day fund, right? And I'm anxious, once you have the discussions with KCO, sort of where we feel that should be. I don't feel like I have enough information just yet to make a decision about pulling funds out of that. But given that the balance is fairly substantial, I think I'm okay moving forward with this through that
The
fund.
only person that's not okay is Amy right now, but we'll be okay. Charlie, thank you. Amy, thank you. Everybody, thank you. It's a huge step. I think like somebody just said, you know, it's been many, many years in the making that anything's really been built and added in this community. So I applaud this court. Hopefully, once we get to the voting session, we've already handled 15. Next one is Chief Brewer.
Thank you, Judge. Good evening, Court. I'll try to make this pretty brief. So the fire department has a SOP committee that meets periodically to review standard operating procedures. Just to see if there's anything that needs to change due to changes in equipment or the way we operate over time. The two changes or amendments that are being requested, one is to our hydrant testing. We now have agreements with water districts that state that we will have hydrant testing completed by certain dates of the year. So it's been changed to reflect those commitments. Let's see. On the hose testing SOP, there's just some minor changes, putting hard dates on date of completion for the hose testing, and then also differentiating between supply line and attack line, which we did not have both types whenever this SOP was implemented. And then the last SOP is pre-planning. We've had a placeholder in our SOP book, but we've never had the formal policy drafted, although we've been completing it for several years. So we wanted to go ahead and formalize this SOP as well.
Thank you very much, Chief. Does anybody have any questions for Chief Brewer? I'm assuming, Max, you've looked over this. Everything's good? Everything meets with the county attorney? Oh, I'm sorry, Scar Tracy.
Thank you. Chief, for a quick question in regards to when you all are doing your testing, would it be possible to get a list of the hydrants that are not working correctly, not functioning at the time that you're testing? And then also, is that list that identifies the hydrants that are not working, is that sent to the district, or is it sent to the group that's working on them? And my question would be, are hydrants that are not working, are they bagged, tagged, to where people do not have a false sense of hope that that hydrant next door works when it doesn't?
So some of that depends on the district. Annually, when we complete the hydrant testing, we do send a list of all hydrants in need of repair to the water districts. We would be glad to copy you on those emails to let you know which hydrants are issues for your districts. We already have that working with one of the districts and with Squire Sebastian. Depending on the district, some, I know Farmdale has just started bagging theirs to identify the ones that are out of service. They've done a great job of communicating on repairs. Peaks Mill has also been another one who's been great to work with and work on getting the repairs done. They're becoming much more proactive. So we would be happy to copy you that list whenever we send it at the completion of hydrant testing.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Chief, well, I guess we'll jump into other business. You want to go ahead and present the next one?
Yes, so on the last board meeting, the fire department presented for the AFG grant. Since that meeting, Chief Other and I have sat through some workshops and had some conference calls with some fire grants personnel who actually write and review the AFG grants. The way this grant's structured, they said your odds of getting awarded are much higher if you request the air pack itself and cylinders for that air pack because of the way that it's structured within the FEMA Go system. So the amendment would be to just include 58 cylinders. It would increase the cost of the grant overall from $242,000 to $311,000. With a 10% match, the county's obligation would change from a little over $24,000 to a little over $31,000. It's a 10% match grant.
Okay, thank you, Chief Brewer, and that's a good catch, and I appreciate you looking at that, because the more likelihood we can get a grant, the better off we are. So basically, I guess the ask would be, the match would be, instead of 24,000, it would be 34. 31. Any questions for Chief Brewer? Chief, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to constitutional officers, department reports, and committee updates. Would anybody like to speak on any of those tonight? Strategic planning, finance, road, anybody?
I'd do a department report. People's been emailing me about some training I sent out.
Okay.
And for county employees, and that is a legit email. I sent one out in 2021, but I wanted to start the training early this year. So I sent out 2 trainings. That is from us, from CACO. It's a CACO training, so it's sexual harassment training and diversity training. So that is, got a lot of calls on that, saying, this is real, it is a real email. So I'm trying to get all the county employees and all the elected officials to please do the training. It really helps with our CACO insurance in case we have something happen that I can prove that we had provided training. Okay.
That's a great thing, thank you very much. Anybody else? Looking around, nobody else? All righty. So now we need a motion to go, authorization to go into closed session.
A motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Judge, I think, I was always told we have to physically read this audibly, the motion.
Okay.
Right.
I need to read it. County Attorney? Go ahead and read it. All right. Authorization to go into closed session per KRS 61.8101F. Discussions or hearings might lead to the appointment, discipline, or disposal of an individual employee.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We're in closed session, so. There you go in here, I believe.
next up is good, Joe.
I was telling Andrew earlier that somebody was watching from home and they said on the channel 10 that he was like in a hole.
Yeah.
So I told you, look, I told Andrew to look up. Huh?
Okay.
Oh, we're waiting for one more person. All right, y'all.
Alrighty. This is our January 31st, 2023, 5 o'clock, court set voting session. Please call roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Here.
Squire Blackburn.
Present.
Squire Dykus.
Here.
Squire Tracy.
Here.
Squire Taylor.
Here.
Squire Wissman.
Present.
Judge Miller.
Present. Authorization to approve, approval of minutes from special meeting of January 18th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Special or regular?
Who did the second?
Wisman.
It's regular.
I need to speak louder for you every time.
Thank you for catching that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive county clerk's quarterly report for a quarter ending December 31, 2022.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive partial payment of $731,000 for 2023 excess fees, county clerk.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Authorization to purchase e-poll books from No Ink. No Ink. Sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I did.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Authorization to purchase election equipment from Harp Enterprises.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve memorandum of agreement between the Wanda Joyce Robinson Foundation and the Franklin County Regional Jail to provide a social worker to work with Franklin County residents.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive Elkhorn Water District Independent Auditor's Report for years ended December 31, 2020 and 2021.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive Farmville Sanitation District Audit Report for years ended June 30, 2021 and 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve fiscal court order setting compensation of office staff, executive assistant appointed by the county judge executive.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Payment of claims. Is there a motion to deny any payment of claims? No motion was made. Let the record reflect claims are to be paid. Second reading and approval of an ordinance amending the table of special ordinances, section 1, zoning map changes of the Franklin County Code of Ordinance for 9.26 acres property, being all of lots 3, 14, 20, 21, and 22 of the Inglewood Park subdivision of record and plat cabinet A, slide 330, in the office of the county clerk, from professional office district PO to general commercial district CG.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Judge, please note I'll be voting present.
Y'all get that? Yeah. Motion passes. Thank you. Authorization to approve agreement with Codell Construction on standard design build of Lakeview Park for $429,975.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to approve interlocal agreement between the City of Frankfort, Farmville Sanitation District, and Franklin County Fiscal Court.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to amend the Franklin County Fire Department's standard operating procedures for hydrant testing and hose testing and create standard operating procedures for pre-planning.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to amend the agenda to add a resolution under other business.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to amend fire department assistance to firefighters grant for SCBA cylinders, face mask, and RIT team kits.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to appoint Kim Cox as the fiscal clerk.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Authorization to appoint James Fry as our new maintenance director.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Before we adjourn, I want to ask, do any of the magistrates have anything they want to say to the public or anything? Any comments? Any events, anything going on?
I want to say that I went to the CARES Coalition meeting this morning. We talked about last time we got together. It went really, really well. And I really suggest that some of you join us, and I'll send you the next date. I think you'll find it informative.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else?
I will.
I can make a comment of praise that we were all able to get together on the meeting as a whole on Lakeview Park, to bring us new members up to date on what's going on, because we hear a lot of things a lot of times, and you got to look at it to know, really.
Well, thank you. And I think we've seen hopefully that communication's key here, so. the more
I
we
was brought up
communicate, the better
earlier,
off
it's the truth.
We
That
will
is
be in
true.
our community, will be, so. Authorization to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, you good? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes, we're adjourned.
You said it before.